Welcome to my channel once more, and I'm really happy to see you here. Are you from another career path, be it legal or engineering or accounting, whatever it may be, science, commercial, arts, and you're trying to get into tech in the least painful and stress-free manner? I'm about to show you some tips and strategy that you can use to actually break into tech. Before we get started, I would like to get some things out of the way, things that are actually commonly encountered by people that are trying to break into tech. There are four things. The first thing is a change of mindset from tech is intimidating to tech is actually very simple. You need to change your mindset. Whatever works for you, however you want to go about it, you need to be in the mindset that tech is not actually intimidating and something that you can do. It's workable. Be in that particular mindset. Very, very important. Yes. The second thing is you need to start gradually and break up complex tasks into easily manageable bits. Instead of starting with 30 minutes of study at a time, how about start with 10? This is especially important if you are just beginning to make up this habit. There are actually studies to support that when people learn slowly in tiny bits over a very long period of time, they tend to grasp the material better and understand better over a long period of time than trying to pack so much into a very small space. This is very, very important, starting gradually. Now, among these two, it's also important for you to have a schedule of a time and a place that you are going to be doing each activity every day. For instance, you could set 7:30 p.m. every day in a particular place. This will prepare and psych your mind into expecting to be in that place and time every day. Very important. Thirdly, you need to psych yourself into commitment by using things known as daily streak. When you have a streak, it's going to create this thing in your mind that you do not want to lose your streak. This is very important. For instance, when you build a streak, like 7 day streak, you'll be reading for 7 days and you wouldn't want to break this by not studying a particular day. Yes, so this really works. No matter how trivial it may sound, I guarantee you that this actually works. When you have a streak that you've been building, I have over 140-day streak on my Apple Books, for instance, and I do not want to break that. So I will not want to miss a day of reading so as not to break my streak. That's the third thing. The fourth thing is that you need to understand that not every resource are made equal. There are some resources that would actually be way more advanced for you, and there's some resources will be just too ridiculously simple. You need to understand that if you're trying to learn a concept from a particular resource, for instance, and you notice that it is getting too complicated for you, you're not really grasping it, you need to change your resource immediately. You can come back to it later in future. I guarantee you that there's someone else out there that actually taught it in an easy to understand way, either teaching in the same style that you learn. Not every teacher are actually a good teacher. That is the truth, for lack of a better way to put it. Yes, there are other better resources out there. There will always be, regardless of how much of an expert somebody might be. That doesn't necessarily make them a good teacher. That is the truth. Do not beat yourself up if you don't understand a concept easily. So once you've gotten these things out of the way, it becomes easier for you to actually learn the core concepts that are important to you. So I'm going to show you some of this trick that I'm talking about and some resources that I'm actually use for those that want to learn C sharp, for instance. This is are going to be relevant resources for, but it doesn't matter whatever you're trying to learn, be it web development, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, whatever it may be, software development, whatever track you may want to go through in the tech aspect. This technique would actually work and you can actually make research on it. So I'm just going to show you some things right away. So I'm going to talk about some of the resources that I use. So this is Apple Books, and this is my reading streak. Currently, I have 147 reading streak. Obviously, that's a lot I've been building, and I wouldn't want to break that. So that's an example of a reading streak. And these are some of the books I read on C Sharp and .NET. You can get them on different websites like Amazon, Pacti, O'Reilly, uh, Payload, Syncfusion, Apress, and so on. They usually come with the soft copy. And on .NET MAUI, these are some of the books I have on .NET MAUI. Got some of them are magazines. Some are actually books written by some people from those platforms that I already mentioned. And these are the books I read on semantic kernel and artificial intelligence, AI matters journals, because as a member of ACMC guy, I get access to some of their journals, and on code magazines too. They talk about semantic kernels too. These are the editions of the magazine that talk about it. So as a subscriber of Code Magazine too, I get access to them. Also, some C sharp questions too also can be purchased from different websites such as Amazon, Pacti, and so on. So that is the book. As you know, it's more of a passive learning method unless you incorporate it with an active, so that such as coding alongside as you're reading. So this is brilliant.org. Brilliant.org too has a lot of amazing animations, very colorful and easy to learn. It will never bore you out. You can see these are some of the courses on programming and computer science. These are some of the courses on data analysis, and then on general science, talk about quantum mechanics and quantum computing, digital circuit. They do add new resources like every so often on it. So I completed it then. They added some more and it's no longer marked as complete again. Logical reasoning, everyday maths, technology, how AI work, cryptocurrency, quantum computing, how they all work. Give you a very easy to understand way for those different topics. Talk about this hyper skill. So hyper skill 2 is more of a text based with some illustration in each of those texts. You can see how it's organized by different topic. Talk about pseudo code, talk about understanding algorithm and complex analysis. Talk about, yeah, you can see. So it has marked some of the ones that I've completed right now. As you can see, I have about 70 days streak on it. I wouldn't want to break my streak by not studying a day. So it kind of psych you, put you in a stage where you don't want to break any of your streak. You can see some of the courses that I've actually completed here. A lot, about 100 courses, 100 topics, subtopics under the bigger topic, computer algorithms and data structure. And some of the questions there, you have to complete about 7 questions or so at the end of each topic, you know. So some of the questions there are kind of challenging. You might need some pens and paper to solve them. Yes, and be as challenging as that. Some are actually simple, but you get to see it if it's difficult, if it's just average or easy. They'll show you the rating of the question, so you don't beat yourself up if you don't get it immediately. You can come back to it later. Now let's talk about LinkedIn. LinkedIn also has a lot of good resources. So these are some of the courses on LinkedIn that I'm specifically interested in C Sharp and you know AI software development, exam. You would see the rating of the course when you open it, if it's beginner, if it's intermediate or advanced. And there are some topics that require some prerequisites. For instance, if you are learning .NET MAUI, obviously you need to understand how XAM works. Yes, XAM is a front-end user interface framework. You also need to understand how events and delegates and attributes works to be able to flow with it easily. So it doesn't make sense for you to just go ahead and start learning without learning the prerequisites. And if you're just starting, it wouldn't make sense to go start with advanced or intermediate before learning the basics. So let's talk about parasites. Parasites too is majorly video based, and they have a downloadable code set that you can actually use. So you can see this is a part on skills on C Sharp. yeah, it's a skill part on C sharp. You can see it's all divided into different level. Like the entry level, you learn the fundamental, debugging, the big picture, object-oriented programming, and all. You also learn the practitioner. That's the next level. Practitioner learn error handling, link fundamental, synchronous, working with files, data access, library, unit testing, secure coding and better. Then advanced. I've completed some of them, as you can see. So C sharp delegate. You saw this C sharp delegate on the LinkedIn learning. So it's always a good idea to learn from different platform and different people so that you can have a broader and well balanced knowledge. There will be some things that an author or a teacher would say that another one wouldn't say. Trust me, you might feel that okay, you've already learned it here already. Why do you need to learn it here again? This person is going to mention something else that this other person in LinkedIn did not mention. Definitely, I guarantee you that. And also, same thing applies to books too. If you're reading books, there'll be something some author would mention that another author will not even make mention of it. And there'll be some things that will be well explained in certain places that will not really be well explained in other places. So, in order to compensate for all of those irregularities, it's good to read it from different sources and learn from different people, use different learning method, mix up your learning so that you can have a broader and well-rounded learning and you won't be too stuck on a particular way of thinking. And you can see Parasite 2 also has its own streak. You can see my learning streak 42 days. And these are the things, the goals I've been able to accomplish in the past 7 weeks. Yeah. Interest, badges. So these things might seem kind of trivia, but they do help to keep you going when you can see the what you've achieved so far, how long you've read, the badges you've earned, your streak, all of these things, measurable skills and the rest kind of psych you into want to continue because you don't want to break what you built in the past few days, weeks, or months. Now let's talk about exercising. Exercising through is a very, very good site for actually practicing the code and all that. So this is purely active learning, although they do have some theoretical aspect of it too. But here you get to use the things that you've learned in your C sharp. Like now, using Boolean, use it to solve different problems. Basics of C sharp, use it to solve a problem. Introduction, use it to solve a problem. Security passes, string builders, constant, read only, date time class, enumeration, dictionaries, equality, error handling. There are different problems that you can solve actually with actual code, and then you can ask the AI that is on it to explain to you what you could have done better and how you could have approached it in a better way, all sorts of problems. So this is the active learning aspect of it. So they all complement each other, both active and passive learning. There's no one that is better or worse than the other. Your passive learning is going to help your active learning because it's what you've known that will come into place when you're trying to solve problems. You can see there are lots of problems here to solve using C sharp. This will really, really help you in algorithms and data structure. Also, problem solving ability. You can see it's exhaustive. Yes. Now, it's not be complete if I don't talk about some really great channels on YouTube. I'm not a complete fan of YouTube tutorials, but some channels are really, really good, like Branch Education. Over here, Branch Education, they talk about the different hardwares of computer and how they work, Bluetooth, CPU, SSD, Starlink, graphic cards, the touch screen, computer hardware, how they all work and all that. Wonderful videos and very easy to learn, and they are, visualize more of animated videos. Very, very interesting. You are going to love this on Branch Education. I would also like to mention PowerSat animated videos. Over here, they mostly talk about networking, how the different computers communicate with each other, CompTIA, modem and routers, and Wi-Fi, DNS, subnet, some hardware to explain to Ethernet cable, RAM, servers, all of those things, how they all work together, give you a better understanding of all of these technologies that we use, for communications between different devices. It's really important for you to learn all these things because you will be a developer and knowing these things will definitely come in handy in one or two places. I would also like to mention this develop AKR. Over here, they talk about different electronics. It's mostly on tinkering the different electronics out there, like data recovery. Look at how a data is being recovered from a micro SD card, all those kind of things. Installation is mostly on electronics, actual electronic device, tinkering it, trying to break it down and see how it works with code and all that. Basically, that's it. So it will really come in handy to your in tech, definitely. And it's not as difficult, although some of them can be a bit complicated, but if you reduce the speed of the video, you could actually still follow through. And then zero to ASIC 2, I need to mention it. Over here, they completely covered different aspects of computer chips to the point of you being able to build your own computer chip. Here you will see how computer chips works. They'll disintegrate it, use code, show you how the things works from ideas. So you can have a good understanding of how the chip that powers your devices, how they work, you know, to give you the pleasant experience we have when you are using your devices. Essentially, they're just talking about chips here. Over here, it's Microsoft developer. They explain different aspects of Microsoft technology. Talk about AI agent. If you want to go into AI agent, Copilot, generative AI, data and the rest. Essentially, these are the things Microsoft build events, MCP for beginners. They give you a very broad overview and everything. It's not too technical actually. And then .NET, this is where you start getting a bit technical. They talk about .NET framework, .NET for developers, C Sharp for developers, back end web development, you know, .NET, ASP.NET, and the rest, front end like Blazor and all of that. .NET MAUI 2 gives you a very broad. This .NET MAUI 2 is also on this LinkedIn Learning too, in case you noticed. Blazor Hybrid, generative AI with .NET for beginners, for Azure and the rest. So that is all. Or no, actually that's not all, but these are some of the resources that I used for actually, sharpening my skills, having a very good broad overview on everything: tech, computer science, devices, chip, networking, coding, wherever you may think or wherever you may need to learn. So I've showed you some of the things that might actually get you started. You might be wondering, how am I so focused on a Microsoft tool? Because Microsoft have a lot of technology. They provide a lot of technology that actually work hand in hand with each other. Everything you need, you find it with Microsoft technology, and it's also very easy to learn. They have a lot of resources out there, and they have a very rich community. On Discord, you can ask them any question. I've showed you the Discord, but I'm trying to respect some people's privacy. On Discord channel, we have the C Sharp channel on Discord. We have the Azure AI on Discord. We have the Microsoft channel on Discord. .NET on Discord. Even MAUI on Discord also. So they have a very, very, a very, very friendly environment where you could ask questions and all that and get your answer sorted. So when you are actually learning using all these different resources, definitely where one resource is lacking, another one is going to make up for it. That's the general idea of all of this. So I hope you enjoyed my broad overview on the different resources that I use. So you've actually seen So you've actually seen some of the resources I actually use, and you've seen the streak I'm talking about. So right now I'm going to talk about some tips and strategies that you can use for upskilling. Number one, you need to understand that there are different types of learning. We have active learning and passive learning. And examples of passive learning is when you are just reading books. You're not practicing what you're reading. You're not experimenting. You are not doing some things that would actually get your hands dirty, or you're just watching videos, you're not coding along. Those are passive learning. When you're not actively involved in the learning process, this is passive learning. This particular way of learning can actually work for you if you are learning things that are not high yield. That is things that you would hardly come across in your day-to-day activity in the path that you've chosen. You need to understand that. But active learning is really, really important. You should have at least you should have 60% active learning and 40% passive. Now, this also depends on how much of what you're learning falls under high yield, the things that you do on a day-to-day basis. If what you're learning, the majority, a large chunk of it, are things you'll be doing all the time, then you need to prioritize active learning over passive learning. But if a lot of things you are learning are just things that will supplement your day-to-day activities, they're not things you encounter so much, then you can do 60% passive and 40% active learning. Examples of active learning is actual coding, for instance, because you are using the active part of your brain to learn by actually coding along while you're watching video tutorials, or while you're reading, you are trying out those code samples in those books, or doing some exercises, taking some coding challenges online, or participating in hackathon or competitions. Yes, those are examples of active learning because you are actively involved in it. Very, very important. It's also important for you to join communities, whether on Discord or Telegram or whatever channels that may be appropriate for you. Because here you'll find other people that are also in the same career path. You can ask them questions. Note, if you're asking questions, ask questions from the angle of you've actually learned something from it. Do not ask questions like you want them to feed you everything. That is the truth. Because when you're asking questions like you've not even learned anything, and you would most likely not get a response, or you get a response from really hungry people. But when you've actually taken effort into learning something and you're trying to see if what you've learned is actually the correct thing, then you would notice that people are more likely to give you the response because they know that you put in the effort and it's not going to be a waste of time answering your question. That is the truth. That is just the way humans work. Another thing is that you need to mix your learning. It's not all the time that you have to reading books. It's not the time you have to watching videos. It's not the time you have to be practicing or doing some exercises online, coding exercises online. Try to mix these things up so that you won't get bored, you won't get tired of a particular mode of learning. Mixed learning is very, very important. It's also good to participate in hackathons too, competitions, do things that would involve working with other people, because this is also falls under the category of what? Of active learning. Is actually going to help you. Apart from that too, you could also apply and take exams. Yes, because exams will force you to read. I have a video that I made on how to pass a Microsoft exam on your first attempt. Yes, you can go through it and go through some of the tips I gave in those videos. Are very useful tips that you can use to pass any Microsoft exam you're trying to take. Yes, taking exams can be really helpful because you know that you need to plan your study and everything so as not to fail your exam that you can take online. And there's another aspect I would like to also take note of. If you are applying for jobs, I want you to be in the mindset of this is a learning opportunity for you, because more often than not, I'm not trying to be negative or trying to discourage you. More often than not, you might not get called for interview. Worst case, the HR or whoever it is that might be in charge might not even get to read your CV. That is the truth. I've been in situations where I go through even as little as 100 CVs. It can be a very daunting task and it's very, very stressful. As soon as they see a candidate that they are interested in, the benefit of going through all that numerous CV just kind of diminishes and they might not even go through it. So don't take it personally if you don't get called for a lot of jobs that you've applied for. Sometimes it could be that they don't even read your CV. It could be that they actually got another candidate before you might be a case of luck, might be a case of chance, might be a case of they didn't even go through it, might be a case of the person going through it was just too tired to, or they were looking for certain things and they just didn't find it in your CV. It does not mean that you do not deserve the job or you're not good enough to actually get it. And also, I want you to actually put it, seek other opportunities. Okay, now there are so many opportunities out there apart from a 9 to 7 or an 8 to 5 job. Yes, you could try freelancing. There are so many freelancing platform outside there like Upwork. Like you could give it a try. It could work for you, might not work for you. You could also try funding opportunities. Whatever it is you're doing, make sure that you're building a good reputation for yourself online, because you don't know who is going to come across, who's going to reach out to you that may need your service. Might not, it's not a must, it's not a do or die. I fear that you must get an 8 to 5 job. Seek other opportunities while you are building your reputation online. It will definitely come in handy one day when you need to apply for maybe funding or whatever it is in future, or maybe someone reaching out to you. Yes, I've gotten to a stage where people reach out to me for gigs. Yes, people will literally reach out to me for gigs because of what I've built online. I really just focus all my entire effort on just getting an 8 to 5 job. Seek out other opportunities and do not take it personally. Do not let it discourage you. I hope you're going to put some of these useful tips and strategies into place, and I wish you good luck entering or breaking into tech. If you enjoyed my video, I would really appreciate you subscribing, liking, sharing with your friends and family. I'll see you again next time.